Hey everyone, Ruben here, Kinder Dog PDX, and as always, Shane is joining us as well this morning for our Saturday Sessions Dog Q&A. This is going to be episode number 4, I believe. Yeah, so we're chugging right along. We got just a few questions this week. Apparently you guys aren't struggling with your dogs, so that's good. But yes, we just got a few questions this week. And let's see, what else? I think that's about it. We are going to get started.
All right, first one is from Haley Darisic. She writes, 1-year-old female Weim that shuts down / goes to sleep, literally, when we try to do leash work or go for walks. She won't take food from the outside or on leash, but is food motivated.
Okay, hi Haley, thanks for the question. All right, so you're saying that your dog shuts down, goes to sleep when we try to do leash work or go for walks. All right, so that's not so bad. First I would ask, what kind of collar are you using? I know we use the Hermsprenger prong collar here, so I would assume maybe you're using that. If not, I would definitely think about one of those. Take the size of your dog into consideration. A Weimaraner, I'm pretty sure they're probably around the size of like a Pointing Griffon or something like that. So you might get away with the 2.25 Hermsprenger size. That's like the small size. And so your dog, what I imagine this is looking like is you're walking, the dog kind of lays down. What we would do if a dog did that is like we would change the angle, right? So instead of trying to pull the dog to keep walking forward, I might parallel myself to the dog's head. So if your dog is walking straight and it is pancaked onto the ground, I might move around to this side and get the dog to turn this way and kind of just start over, right? Because the dog is just it's just a little protest. So you might play with just changing the angles of the direction that you're walking, right? Because the idea is just to get the dog moving, to show them like your pancake isn't going to stop me from completing this task, right? And, we're not correcting or anything like that. It's just the dog pancakes, move to the side, leash pressure, get them, good them, yes them, show them that, hey, that's exactly what I want. So that would be our take on getting that to happen. And, you're just going to look for those little moments and like, oh, okay, well, I can get you to walk and I'm just going to change my directions and we can continue on. I know we have definitely had dogs do that in the past, and that's just what we do. I don't want to pull the dog forward because then we run the risk of the dog kind of still pancaking and now you're literally dragging the dog, right? So just get them to turn their head, by being more parallel or even a 45 degree from where their head is at, so you can get them to turn this way, still turn this way, but you got more of an angle on it. As far as the food motivation being outside, you might want to think about just cutting down the dog's food a little bit. The food motivation just isn't quite there yet, right? So first we want to make sure that the dog is eating all its meals through training, okay? And if it eats all its meals through training inside the house and everything is cool, and then they got high drive inside the house, it could just be that the distractions are too much outside. So what we would do is, if the dog is rocking inside, then it's like, okay, all of your eating is going to be done outside, because when a dog doesn't eat, that's definitely like a sign that they're nervous, unsure. There's definitely something going on, like some sort of fearful response going on. So, because the dog just won't eat when they are nervous, unsure, scared. what have you. So what we would do is like, okay, you're only going to eat your meals when we are outside. And that could be out in the front of the house, at the park or whatever. But it's very important that when we're doing that training outside, that's the only context in that they're going to eat. So if they don't eat outside, don't go home and put their food in a food bowl and give it to them then. Because then they're just going to know that, well, I can hold out long enough because mom's just going to feed me when we get home. So you go out, do your training, you sit, good, go to feed. They don't take it. Try it a couple of times. Sometimes it can help loosen the dog up. But if they just don't want to eat, you can end the session right there, take the dog home or go back inside, and then they miss breakfast. And then dinner comes around. All right, we're going back outside. We're going to try this again. The dog is going to know that they're going to be like, crap, I missed breakfast because I didn't want to eat. They made that choice. And the dog's not going to starve themselves. They will eat when they get hungry. So don't worry that your dog misses breakfast or even misses dinner. They definitely might miss a meal or two, okay? So, or even three. Again, it's not the end of the world. They will eat. But it's very important that we, stick to what we want. So the second session, you go outside for dinner, you work with the dog, they're going to be like, oh, crap, I'm hungry. I missed breakfast. And then you might see a better response from the dog. But again, if you go sit, you go to pay, and they don't eat, again, give it a couple of tries because, the dog can loosen up and then start taking food. But if they don't, then they miss dinner, right? And then you come back the next day in the morning, and then you try it again. But don't come home and put their food in a food bowl because then they're just going to know, hey, well, I can hold out and mom's just going to pay me when we get back into the house, right? So stick to that. Your dog will then start being, oh, I need to pay attention. I need to eat. She's got the food because the last time I missed breakfast and dinner and I'm pretty hungry now. So that is generally how we would do it. And if you're still, okay, so going back, that's before cutting the food down a little bit, right? So if you're saying your dog has a high food drive right now, cool, just feed them in those circumstances. But if they choose not to eat, don't feed them. If you're still struggling with this, maybe your dog is not like iffy on eating in the house at certain times, like maybe sometimes they eat out of your food, eat out of your hand when you are working with them, then you might want to take the food down just a little bit, if your dog is getting a quarter of a full cup of food morning and night, maybe you cut it down to 3/4 of a cup, right? Because the idea is you want to make the value of those food kibbles higher, right? So right now they might be like $5 bills, $1 bills, they could go without a dollar bill. We want them to turn into like $100 bills, right? So they're just like, yeah, the food is out. I'm 100% focused on you, okay? So take a look at what your dog's food drive is like inside, are they like chomping at the bits to get it? Then okay, then we got some high food drive stuff, and then it's just a matter of like sticking to your guns and like, okay, you might miss a meal, but that's okay. You made that choice, okay? Where you're not withholding food from them, okay? So if you have any other questions with that, definitely feel free to leave them in the comments, and we will get back to you, okay? Thanks, Haley.
All right. Question number 2 is from Catherine. She writes, I don't know if this is a good one or not, but I've been curious. Enzo has aggressive tendencies towards new dogs. I'm sure you've noticed. And we've been keeping him away from my dog Daisy. Is there a way to safely introduce them? He has caught glimpses of her and goes full-blown scary Roddy through a window or door. Is it best to keep them apart? I'd like not to worry about her or him accidentally getting out and seeing each other. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Haley, or thanks, Catherine, for the question. All right. So, big boy Enzo, aggressive tendencies. So, what first I would ask is this like old Enzo or new Enzo? This is new Enzo. First off, he should be on place with no access to staring out the window or staring out the door or anything like that. He's not in that position yet to do that because of the homework that we have set up for him for when he went home. So if he's doing that, we need to get his butt on place first, and correct any type of, barking at the door, anything like that. Definitely correct any monkey business from him sitting on place. Okay, so for the second part of your question, how do we introduce them safely? So for us, what we like to do is get the dogs walking together, okay? That can just help build a different association with the dogs. It helps get them working together, builds a working mindset, and it helps just take the pressure off of each other, because you can start far away and, walking, and then you can start to slowly bring those dogs in together till they're walking like side by side. You can do forward, one dog in front, one dog in back, one dog in back, one dog in front, and you play with that, right? The other thing that we do is coexistence, right? So lots of place work around each other, just observing the dogs, because this lets them know that, hey, well, you have that dog under control, It tells the other dog, oh, hey, you have that dog under control. Those things are immensely powerful, right? Now, socializing can get tricky, especially if you're just not super savvy with, the dog's body language and things like that. So like for everyday dog owners, like we don't really suggest that. If you're dodgy with your dog and you're just not super sure, like having them hold a place with each other is huge, because that allows them to be included in a bunch of other things, but where they are, right? So with that though, it also requires us to take a look at how our own dog is. Does your dog, Catherine, walk well on the leash? Can it hold a place? If it can't really do those things, it's gonna make it very hard on Enzo to do better stuff, right? Because we're asking him to mind all of his P's and Q's, while a dog, I've never met your dog before, but we don't want to be asking him to do all of this stuff if our dog struggles with things, okay? So walking together, holding place around each other, having one dog hold the place, the other one moves around. Those are all just things, all good ways to build different associations with the dog. I think the other most important thing is don't rush it. Take your time. Do a bunch of walks for a long time until you feel really good about other things. And you can see that, oh, hey, this is working out really well. So don't rush to get them outside and quote unquote play. That's really the last thing on our list to do. Coexistence first is key, and correcting any shenanigans in that sense, right? It's a tricky thing to navigate, I wish it was as easy as oh, hey, yeah, throw the dogs in the back and, see how it goes. But that's the worst way to do it. That leaves things open for dog fights, which loses trust in owners and loses trust in other dogs. It's a very slippery slope when it comes to dog-to-dog interactions, right? So walking together, holding a place is really good, and just doing that over time. and you should slowly just start to see better things coming from your dog, right? But then it also requires us, like I was saying before, that we need to take a look at our own dog as well and see what areas that we can improve on, because it's just going to be very challenging for Enzo if, like I said, I don't know your dog, but assuming, just thinking, it's like if our dog is crazy on the leash, it's going to make it really hard for him. So we want to get our dog in a good space, so that they can be an example of what we want the other dog to be doing, okay? Because energy can definitely throw things off. If a dog is acting super nutty, it can definitely set a dog off and all of that. So really work on bringing things down, get them walking together, holding place work together. Things like that would be the way that we would definitely tackle that. Okay? So again, thank you, Catherine, for that question. Yeah, and if you have any questions about that, definitely hit us up in the comments. And also, because Enzo just left here for training, if you have any specific Enzo questions, you can definitely just email us directly and don't have to wait for any kind of for our question and answer show. Okay? So you can get answers faster. All right? So thanks, Catherine.
All right, next we have one from Emily. What's your process for bringing a dog in stores, hardware stores in particular? We like to bring Ocho to our local Ace when we are getting supplies or reloading his food, as it is very quiet and never busy. He is always so nervous, trying to hide behind our legs, breaking heel when he gets spooked, shaking, etc. How can we be more successful with this?
Hi, Emily. Thank you for the question. This is for our man Ocho. He did a training program with us probably like 2 years ago now. So that's cool. All right, so taking him into a hardware store. So, by your question, he's nervous about it, so that's okay. What we typically do, so you might be ahead of this, but this is just how we would do it if we were taking a new dog that's never been to Lowe's, for example. This is how we would do it. So first thing, the dog is obviously rocking in just general walks around the neighborhood, all of that. Like, the dog is excellent. So what we would do, every new place elicits a novel response from the dog until they've generalized it enough in enough areas, okay? Enough new areas, right? Because you go to Lowe's, okay, that's one thing. The park might be another thing. The, other hardware parking lot in another part of town is another thing. It's like we have to generalize the dog in a bunch of spots for it to become default. So we go to Lowe's, I pull in. First thing I do, I'll get the dog out, and then we might just walk around the parking lot, right? Because they're already going to be a little more alert, like, oh, we're in a new spot. So they're already elevated. So we would walk in the parking lot, cultivate a proper state of mind before moving forward, right? Because the walk is the reward, going inside the store is the reward. Because even they have conflicting emotions. They're like excited to go in, but I'm nervous and unsure. So walk the dog around the parking lot is what we do. Just get them like really working, And when I could see that the dog's energy levels started to come down, I want to get the state of mind right, okay? Then I would start thinking about moving in. But I'm also going to be really watching the dog. The closer I get to the entrance, are they lifting up? Okay, we're going to do some more work out here, okay? I'm really paying attention to that stuff. And we may or may not make it into the store that first time, right? The second time will be easier. The third time will be easier, but I'm always watching the dog. And so if we can get inside the store, cool. What I do then is I just walk around the store, okay? And like when we go to Lowe's, I kind of do the perimeter first. I might walk up and down aisles. But I'm paying attention to where people are and if there's other dogs around, because again, I'm watching the dog, and if I know that they're nervous of people or dogs or things like that, like I'm gonna give them space, because again, I just want this to be like, hey, just walk with me through here. I'm going to advocate for you by giving you the space between the things that make you nervous. And I'm going to walk really slow to make them work really hard. And I'm not going to ask a whole lot of them. I'm not going to ask for a bunch of sits and downs and all of this stuff the first time around. It's really just like a walk, because that's a big challenge for them to overcome, right? And so I don't have an agenda when I go there, so I'm not really doing any shopping. Again, I'm just walking around. If we're shopping and then we got to go to the counter, and that's a lot of pressure for the dog, because you're now at the checkout registers. The lady might be looking at the dog, people walking by, hey, that's such a cute dog. That might be too much for him, right? So just go in there without an agenda and just do a walk, 20 minutes, 15 minutes. Like for a dog who's like, oh my God, this is just so nuts for me, it doesn't take a lot of time to really mentally wear them out. So just take a walk around the store, 10, 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, and then leave, okay? And then you go back the next day, or, a few days later, and the same thing again. Just go in the parking lot, walk them around in there. Oh, okay, cool. You're like in a much better space. You got there a lot faster now. I'm feeling pretty good. Let's head into the store. But pay attention to the dog. If they're starting to like pull ahead a little bit, no, let's go. It's so important that we cultivate what we want first before going in, because it's just going to help us when we are actually inside there. Okay. And so, yeah, that's what we would do. Start in the parking lot, slowly work our way in. Don't have an agenda when you're in there. Just walk around. Maybe you let them smell some stuff. But, focusing on the dog, and then leave after a little bit of time. And then you just kind of repeat that process. And yeah, that's about what we would do for going to a hardware store. So hope that answers your question, Emily. Thank you for that. And that wraps up the show for this morning, for today. So hope you all have a great Saturday, and